All right, so on this one, there's going to be some important values you have to know that College Board is going to expect you to know. They're going to be, first off, like the unit circle, for example, like we saw earlier. You're going to have to know how to do those values. But we need to know what these are. What's the natural log of 1 going to be? You know what that is? 0. Yeah, you're going to be expected. That's going to show up sometimes, and you're going to be expected to know, especially on the multiple choice, that that equals 0. The natural log of E is 1. The natural log of 0 is undefined, but really it approaches negative infinity. We have to think about, what does the natural log graph look like? The natural log graph ends up looking like this, right? Here is right here at 1, and this is going to be have a vertical asymptote at 0, so it actually approaches negative infinity. What happens when we have natural log of e to the 5x? What's that going to be? What happens with the natural log in e? What do they do? Cancel out, right? So this really moves to the front. This equals 1. So it's really 1 times 5x. So it's just 5x right there. And same things happens here. This uses a few of our properties here. We have to make sure we understand natural log of x to the 1/3. Then that 1/3 can come in front. And so this is really going to be the same thing as 1/3 natural log of x. And so I think sometimes what happens on these questions is we do all the calculus right, and there's some sort of algebra piece in there that messes us up, okay? We need to make sure, look, sine of 0 shows up a lot, which is going to be 0. Cosine of 0 is 1. Tangent of 0 is 0. But then you're probably going to make sure you need to know all the first quadrant on the unit circle. And also the values at the axes, like pi over 2 pi, 3 pi over 2, and 2 pi. You need to know those cold, okay? Like, it'd be best to know all the unit circle, but at a minimum, you need to know the first quadrant, and these are the ones that show up the most. The other thing is being able to evaluate these fractional exponents. So when we say something like 27 to the 4/3, what does that mean we need to do? What is the third root? What is this? I mean, that 3 down there. What does that do? Third root, right? So it's going to be the third root. And so you have an option. You can actually do 27 to the 4th power and then take the third root, or you can take the third root and then raise it to the 4th power. It's going to be way easier to do the root first. And so this is really the same thing as 3 to the 4th power, which is then going to end up being 81. Okay, that's much easier to do than if you were to imagine they're sitting there trying to multiply 27 4 times. That's going to be difficult. All right, if you have this 9 to the negative 3/2 power, same thing. This is going to end up being 3 to the negative 3rd. What does that negative exponent do? Reciprocal, right? It's going to put it in the denominator. So it's like repeated division. It's like we're dividing by 3 times. So it's going to end up being 1 over 3 cubed, which is 1 over 27. Okay, the negative exponent does not make things negative. Being able to make sure we write this, because if we have to take the derivative of something like this, we need to be able to write this correctly. So what is this going to be? X to the what? Negative 1/2 power. So now we can actually find the derivative or antiderivative, but we have to be able to make sure we know how to write that as a negative exponent. If we were going to write this without a negative exponent, like we had to simplify, is this going to be 1 over 4x squared or 4 over x squared? Yeah, 4 over x squared. So let's make sure we do order of operations that it does not move that value into the denominator. Okay. All right, that was another one. Oops, if I can get this thing to stop. There we go.